Welcome, I'm Wayne from Damage Undone and I'm a smart repairer. And today I'm going to take you through a smart repair on an SL, Mercedes SL, and I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks that work with me and how I get the best out of the Q1's premium masking solution products. What we're going to do today is we're going to repair the panels on the back of this SL. It's a common problem with them. I've seen it on quite a few that have come into my shop, and what happens is the clear coat starts to break down and you get this effect that you can see here. Before I start sanding the panel, I'm going to clean it down with some solvent degreaser. I always like to use a solvent-based degreaser first. This really helps to get rid of any previous polish that might be residue that might be left on there or silicone, and then I will always move on to the water-based degreaser after that. Before I start sanding the panel that we're repairing, what we need to do is we need to protect the surrounding area. So we're just going to put a little bit of tape on there because we don't want to damage that when we're sanding it. I'm going to do my initial sand on this using a P180 grit. I'm also going to use a backing pad for this because then it'll follow the contour of that panel because there is a slight curve to it. I'm finished with 180. So now I want to move on to a slightly finer grit. I'm going to go for 240 and then move on to the 320, which is what we're going to put the primer on with. So we've got some little swirl marks or sanding marks to the left. By using the 240, this is going to smoothen this off and give us a much nicer finish. After the initial clean with a solvent degreaser, I tend to not use it anymore. I will then move on to my water-based degreaser. And this is because a solvent-based degreaser, when you're wiping a panel, can generate static in that panel. The water-based degreaser helps to eliminate the static in the panel. Final stage before I start priming, I'm going to use the Q1 sanding sponge, and the reason for that is it's going to give me a little bit more control. So the sponge I'm going with is the fine, which is 320 to 500. They say 320 to 500 because as you start using it, it's 320, and as it goes along, it's going to become finer and finer because you're wearing it down. That's how you get the 500. Q1 produce 3 sanding sponge options. You've got the fine, which is 320 to 500, the super fine, which is 600 to 800, and then you've got the microfine, which is 1000 to 1500. Now we're going to repeat the process on the other side. I'm not going to mask up the whole car. There's no need to. I'm going to use a UV primer in an aerosol can, so it's going to be a really small controlled area. Quick cure, then we can move on to paint. Because the panel that we're repairing today is actually a plastic panel, it's always best before you start priming to lay down a plastic adhesion promoter. As you saw, I used the UV primer, and that UV primer is incredibly translucent. It needs to be so that the UV lamp can cure it. So I need to now use a guide coat to make sure that the panel is absolutely smooth and ready for painting. I'm going to go with an orange guide coat. This will help me see any imperfections in my primer. After I put my primer on, I'm going to go with the superfine, which is a 600 up to an 800. It's going to be perfect to get this ready for paint. Quick tip, this is the way I like to do it. When I'm masking up, polymasking a car, I always like to start where the actual repair is and take the polymask away from there. The reason for that is your polymask is often lying around, so if you're pulling your polymask onto the area that you're actually going to be working. That means the section that's been exposed to outside elements, dust, etc., is going to be the dustiest. Whereas if you're pulling it away, that's going to be the cleanest part of the material. The car's now ready to paint, it's all masked up. One last thing to do, give that panel another tack down with a tack rag and use the anti-static gun to get rid of any static that might have been generated. That's it, it's a wrap. I'm really pleased with the way the job's come out. I've been able to share my working process with you and hopefully giving you a better understanding into smart repairs, giving you a great insight into the products I like to use, why I like to use them, and how best to use them. If you would like to find out some more information about any of the Q1 range, please head over to q1tapes.com.